Our guest today is Nabil Shaban, founder of Graeae, a professional theater company of disabled performers, a published writer, performer, performances on television and film. Most may know him from his role as a ruthless businessman, Sill, in the Doctor Who stories. So stay tuned. So, as I mentioned in our introduction here, you're the founder of the world-renowned theater company, Graeae. Now, tell us more about this company, and I feel like I'm enunciating it incorrectly as well.
Well, Graeae is how we pronounce it, as in Graeae. But it's not how it's spelled. It's Graeae. There's quite a dispute as to how it should be pronounced. It's from Greek myth. The Graeae were three sisters who had one eye and one tooth between them, and they were related to the Gorgons. And Perseus, who wanted to kill the Gorgons, particularly Medusa, didn't know how or where they were, but he found out that they had, I think they were cousins or sisters, who would give him the information, and they were the Graeae. And if you were to watch Jason and the Argonauts, or I think the latest film about the Greek myths, what's it called, the Titans, you will find, I think, Graeae referenced in there. So that was the name that we gave our theatre company. We created the theatre company initially in 1979. And when I say we, I'm talking about me and Richard Tomlinson, who's a friend of mine. He was also originally back in the early 70s, a lecturer at a college I was attending as a student. And he was keen on, it was a disabled college, Hereward, and he was keen on amateur dramatics. Mm-hmm. And so he set up an amateur acting group for us to do in the evenings. And one of the things about him was that he was convinced that disabled people had great stories to tell, which non-disabled people would find interesting, maybe even funny, as many of our encounters and experiences are quite humorous. So he decided to create a show which originally began with a title, Never Mind, You'll Soon Get Better, which was a typical thing doctors would say to disabled people or any patient or whatever, giving you a pat on the head. Another one could have been God moves in mysterious ways. If you were to ask a vicar, why am I disabled? Right. Why have I had this foot shoot? But anyway, at first it was called Never Mind. Then I arrived at the college, very keen to do acting, as I was doing some acting of my own from an amateur point of view before arriving at that college. And so I quickly got in touch with him and said, I want to join your club, if you want to call it that. And so that was it. I found I was too late to be cast in the show, Never Mind, You'll Soon Get Better. But soon after that, they decided to do another show, which I called Ready Salted Crisps. Now, I don't know if you know about crisps. I don't know if it's the same in Canada, but in America, actually, crisps are called chips, something like that.
Yes.
And in Britain, they're called, those things are called crisps. And we also have, a flavour. The first flavour was Ready Salted. So I came the idea of putting our show Ready Salted Crips, Crips being abbreviation for cripples. So that was the name of the show, and we put it on to the students. This was in like 1974, 70. Well, we were running things from 73, 75 when both Richard and I left, and that was well received by our fellow students. We then took it out on tour in the local community, the local county, which is Warwickshire. And we were amazed at its popularity, how well it was received. The show was a sort of vaudeville show with singing, dancing, lots of humour, lots of sketches, and with various issues that disabled people had to, anything to do with education, accidents, the medical profession. That was the show which was presenting our perspective, facets of disabled living. And then after that, I started our ways. I was going off to university to the United States to teach disabled students at Illinois University. So everything was hands. But before we left, he said to me, did I fancy setting up and Meshka one day?
Right.
And I said, well, I've got nothing else to do. Why not give it a go? And then we didn't communicate much up until 79 when he got back from the States. I was about the university. And he said, well, how about it then? Shall we set this company up? I said, well, yeah, I'm doing some administration, etc., etc. But my main reason for the company would be to give me the opportunity to act. I want to be an actor. And the thing is, disabled people back in the 60s and 70s and early part of the 80s in Britain had no opportunity to become actors. We were accepted at drama schools, drama colleges. When I was 16, I wrote to about 16 different dramas in Britain. And everyone said, get lost, basically, or set up your own little acting group. And I tried various different ways to get into acting. I thought, well, if I worked in an advertising agency and I was making TV commercials, maybe I could act in those. And if I'm the boss, the agent, they've got no choice but employ me in the actors in commercials, move on to TV drama and so on. So I thought this was going to be my way into acting, but that didn't work out, partly because I didn't like advertising and the industry. So I didn't. I did work for a while at an agency for about 6 weeks, and then I resigned. And the main reason I resigned, actually, was because we were very far into creating the theatre company. We had got various gigs lined up. We're talking 1980. And one of our gigs was going to be in Canada, in Winnipeg, at the International Rehabilitation and Disability Conference. And we persuaded the organisers that we had, a really good theatre company. And actually, we were just starting out. And we only had one show, which we turned the show called originally Really Salted Crips to Sideshow. And that was mainly because Richard had gone to the States with disabled students over at Illinois University, and they had improved on the show that we created, and they called it Sideshow. So that was what we came back with, and performing sometimes we're doing 2 shows a day at different venues, or even 3 shows in different venues a day. And it was a real trial by fire. I've never worked so hard before. I don't think I've ever worked that hard since either. We're doing like 23 shows in 27 days. And we were popular in the States.
Right.
The TV companies, the radio companies, theatres, they weren't interested in the slightest. We're just a bunch of crips, with delusions of grandeur or whatever. So we couldn't get the press interested. It's funny how if something comes from America, suddenly everybody wants it in Britain. And so we in the States, and as a consequence, we now had our credentials because we had been approved by the Americans. And so suddenly everybody wanted us in Britain when we got back. And we went on tour. So I might have given you a very long, more than you want in the answer.
Now, you gave us a beautiful answer from the 70s leading all the way up and all those things. I would love to ask, do you miss performing on stage? I mean, you went from stage to television to film. Are you still doing any stage work?
Well, actually, to be honest, I haven't worked since 2007. I've not worked in television since 97. So my work in the last 20 odd years has been in theatre and stage. And also, you know, my best as an actor has been in theatre. And, you know, the roles that I've played have been far more interesting. You know, one of the things I've noticed now as an actor, that the more money that's spent on a production, bigger the media where the show is being presented, the reluctant producers are. So a disabled person is not going to get a very big role in television and will even have a smaller role in film. But whereas theatre, which doesn't invest, you know, the millions that can be invested in a movie or television, you know, they're more daring. So consequently, like in theatre, you know, I've played Hamlet in Hamlet. I've played Ayatollah Khomeini in a show called Iranian Nights. I played Haile Selassie, Emperor of Ethiopia, in a play called The Emperor. And so I played Jesus in Godspell. I played a Roman emperor in The Emperor and the Galilean. So I've actually done a hell of a lot of good work in theatre. And whilst I've had some pretty nice jobs in film and telly, they're nowhere near as satisfying as an actor, except, of course, you know, the only TV role that I'm famous for, a character in Doctor Who, Sill, who is a nasty, sadistic alien who hates humans, and he's a businessman who's just into money, and he will look at anything provided there's a profit for him.
Now, this character Sill, there was a movie made as well. Is that right? Sill and the Devil's Seeds of Arador.
Yeah, because actually, I didn't quite tell the truth when I said that the last film I made was in 2007, because in fact, Sill and the Devil's Seeds of Arador was made in 2019, just before the pandemic. I actually think that Sill, it wasn't the Chinese, but Sill who's behind the virus.
Now, we have your trailer.
Welcome back, Envoy Sill.
You can't do this to Sill!
You are accused of introducing a hybrid cocapamine drug commonly known as devil seed.
After the sentence has been carried out, all that will remain of you, Sill, is a puddle of green slime.
What is that?
Commodore will fall into a pleasant, if somewhat endless, sleep. Mistress Na. What of her?
She used her wiles, her beauty, to tempt me.
If you have love for me, do not mention my name tomorrow.
Show me the way to solve this deadly dilemma!
If we are to save you, if I am to represent you in court, you must tell me how this whole sorry saga first began.
Where does the truth lie?
He's this, Sill, when I was watching the Doctor Who and certainly the trailer, he's this lovable evil guy that you just can't stand not to want to give him a big hug.
Yeah, and Sill. The only person you wouldn't mind hugging him is the female alien, Mistress Na. who's in the film Sill and the Devil Seeds of Arador. Sure, she's in trouble, but he is completely besotted with her, and she's about the only one who can sort of wrap him around one of her many fingers or her tail. But this is actually my 5th outing as Sill. So I've done Sill on Doctor Who on television twice. That was in the 80s. And I don't know if you heard of there's an audio company called Big Finish in Britain who do loads of dramas, and many of them based on Doctor Who stories.
Okay.
And they've actually hired me twice to do two Sill plays. And then this last one, the film, was really created by accident. Producer director who has his own company, Real Time TV, Keith Barnfather, he does a whole load of documentaries all related to Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
And he got a series called The Myth Makers. And he got in touch with me one day and said, "Hey, I'm really sorry, but I've never made a Myth Maker documentary about you. I should." So we agreed that would happen. And that was actually around 2017. And so he came to my place and interviewed me. And then while we were talking, he said, "Do you fancy doing a Sill film, a Sill drama?"
Right.
And of course, I'm a right old tart. I said, "Yeah, I think I'll work for anyone, just pay me or whatever." So he said, "Okay, well, I'll think about this." And also to get the original writer, Phil Martin, because Sill is his creation, to agree to the project, and hopefully he would write it. So Philip was contacted by Keith, and immediately Philip fell in love with the idea and promptly wrote the story. I read it, I liked it, and it took only a year to get the thing started. And so we actually made it, thankfully, before the pandemic started, about May 2019. And so that's how it happened, really. And it's proved very popular, very successful. It's a DVD, but it has been to well over 100 film festivals. And it's actually won 100 awards. And I think a lot of Doctor Who fans are actually very grateful to Keith for having returned what they believe Doctor Who to its original roots.
Okay.
Creating a show that is more like the old Doctor Who than New Doctor Who, which a lot of fans are unhappy with. So it's there are plans to make a sequel. The only sad thing is that not long after the success of Sill and the Devil Seeds of Arador, Philip Martin died. He died around about 2020. So, but there we are. That's the story of Sill.
Can you walk us through Sill? Like we know him from the Doctor Who as an evil businessman, and now we're looking at him from the Devil Seeds of Arador. What's the biggest challenges that Sill is facing in this new adventure?
Well, the biggest challenge is that they're trying to lock him up, and that's execute him. And so he's attended. He's a bit like Trump in some ways. There's lots of people who want to do him, to put him on trial for lots of misdemeanors, and so he's got a lot of enemies out there. Well, Trump has, also Sill. I actually created two images of during the Trump years of Trump and Sill working together, or rather, Trump created Sill, it's the other way around. It's Sill creating Trump. That was it. I made a sort of Frankenstein image where Trump is a Frankenstein monster and Sill is the evil genius behind it. You're probably going to cut all that out, but anyway. So everyone is out to get Sill, and he's in prison on the moon, and they hope to keep him there or worse. But he outwits them all with his various devious and blackmailing and ways. The other thing about Sill, he's a drug pusher, is one of the reasons why they put him on trial because people have died from the drugs that his company has been manufacturing. And but the end of it all is that he gets away with it, of course, and he's got plans to become president. No, not Britain, Europe. No, not Europe, the world. And in fact, he wants to be president of the galaxy. And there is, in fact, a script called Vote Sill, which deals with his great design to conquer the universe.
Nice.
So that kind of guys.
I have time for one more question for you, Nabil, and I'd love to know what makes Nabil smile.
What makes me smile? I'll tell you, animals. I absolutely love animals. I'm often aware of me suddenly smiling as I see a dog, or if I see a kitten, or a puppy, or a lion, a bear, an elephant. That's animals, quite frankly, is what makes me smile.